the first part of that is the importance of encountering silence. That's still the answer that I would have to go for. Look, we live in an information age. And moving forward, I believe that the human capacity in general to be able to negotiate silence is going to be a very difficult one.
It seems like we're, maybe this is true of monasticism in general, but called to live a certain serene countercultural life. Something that runs counter to maybe what the culture expects or is thinking about or is preoccupied with. A life of simplicity, a life of silence. It seems like that's mostly what we have to offer. But not doing it in an angry way or shaking our fist way, but just serenely doing it and offering it to people who might be interested.
We are not living a century ago or centuries ago. So I think that an effort that we are making every day is to witness a different lifestyle to the world of today, to our contemporary world. And this is one thing that I think we are offering. Other aspects of our life, which I like to mention, is the hospitality, which is true for every Benedictine families, but I think that we are trying to interpret and live it in the broader possible way, being open to other people. So it's not just a matter of running a guest house, but to be open to other people, to share with them, to be with them when they need it.
There's a deep respect / engagement with the human person that I think bears fruit and is manifested in just about everything you guys do here. And the retreatants pick up on that. I think there's a difference for when I reflect on my own retreat experience, there's a difference between being really moved and inspired by a place or even a person, observing a monk inquire, just how he goes about the space and what he or she does. And the people walk away, they're very open, and they walk away with that experience.
To withdraw from the world for the purpose of, in solitude and silence and stillness, making oneself absent and in a sense poor in those ways, yet in those spiritual disciplines of silence and solitude and stillness, being of service to one's neighbor through prayer.
And oftentimes I think we find that's the experience of people who say, I want to talk to one of the monks, because they begin to experience something here again, which is the truth of who they are, their meaning and their purpose in God found within themselves. And we help them to identify that and say, listen to it, claim it, it's who you are, and live from that. And that's what you will give to the world. And I think that's part of our wisdom, our gift, our prophetic voice that we claim for ourselves and work on day in and day out.
For some people, it just means foreseeing the future, and that isn't what the prophets did in the Bible, They spoke for, and that's from the Greek words, spoke for whom? For God, but also for the listener. Facilitating the communication of God with humans. And if in some modest, imperfect way, I can facilitate this dialogue with humans, and doing this also in connection with an interreligious perspective, because that's where the church is right now.
It's rather paradoxic that how it happens. I think out of the community, and that paradox of prophecy usually happens or emerges when we least are paying attention to it, I think, directly. It's in the kind of the ordinariness of relationships with other human beings.
One of the ways in which our corporate and individual outflowing of the Spirit has taken place has been through an understanding of the importance of dialogue. There's the dialogue that goes on within the community, with the sisters or the brothers we live with. There's the dialogue that goes on in solitude with God and with ourselves. And that dialogue then somehow has become part of what emerges from our lived experience. Interreligious dialogue would be the most obvious of those, but I think pointing to the world that talking, communicating more effectively and not being challenged by difference and wanting to understand other people, wanting ourselves to be understood by other people.
Even in like a liturgical situation, in preaching, not to be afraid to connect the gospel to contemporary issues that has a prophetic edge to it. And, you know, all of that rooted in the prologue to the gospel of the prologue to the rule, let the gospel be our way and our guide. And allowing, both challenge to the people that are listening, as well as empowerment for them moving into a more sapiential prophetic stance in their own life.
I would again highlight the triple good of our monastic journey, Camaldolese, in the sense of integrating this solitude as the opening to mystery, and then communion with others, monks and people and creation, and the outreach. And the outreach is in the aspects that in today's life are more asking, challenging. That's to say, civil rights, for example, ecology, and technology. So how do we find a way to embrace them in our monastic journey?
I think our prophetic voice centers around the third good itself, that our congregation is so intentional about that extra aspect of the life. It's in other traditions, but not as intentional, not as clearly stated, that something flows. And what that gives it, in combination with the aromatical aspect, is this flexibility. Makes us a little loose on our feet, recognizing that people have different phases in life they go through, different stages they go through, different needs at different times. Also recognizing that that has to go somewhere. It's supposed to become something.
Yeah, I remember when I entered the monastery, and Father Benedetto told us the prophecy. Monastic is a prophecy of life. If done, the monastic life is lived intelligently, is a prophecy for the future, a future that you are process of a journey of freedom. The freedom not to do what I want, but to enter this kind of freedom that helps to be free from the law. I do more than what the law say to me, but I'm free because it's my choice, and it's not the I do because I'm obligated to do it, but I'm free. And so prophecy for me is connected with the freedom. Our journey of faith is a journey of freedom.